Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me here. So happy to have you in this healing video. My name is Eva. Today, I have notes. We are focusing in this healing meditation on clearing the punishment imprint. Um, for me personally, this has really been coming up quite strongly to be acknowledged and forgiven and released throughout sort of the time space continuum of the morphogenetic field. We really want to let this fully surface, which means it's probably going to be a little bit uncomfortable as we confront its unreality. We want to clear trauma expectation, so sort of like allowing past memory experiences from throughout time, so like inherited stuff, ancestral genetic, spiritual lineage imprints, your own personal incarnation from this life, stories that have been handed down. Um, you know, to intercede into the center of the now and allow that to clear the way for the future by being deeply present in the now. So we're no longer allowing past memory, past conditioned beliefs to project into the future and allow, this message came up in the member video I just did, but allowing those past stories, the whole like cliche of history repeating itself. Well, that's true, right? That's what's happening here on earth. It just is this cyclical time cycle that just keeps getting restarted, and it's the same stories over and over again, and we see them replayed over and over. And so really, really, really believing, anchoring in the belief in this code, in this healing technology, and allowing it to undo the past. Because if we forgive it, it's no longer there. Forgiveness is an undoing. And so we don't behave as if we have this long history of this traumatic past. We are anchored into the now. We are anchored into the unity field. We are anchored into love, where there is no concept or past or future. But there's definitely been these sort of images and imprints of like martyrdom coming up, and this, relating to being more present and being more active and flowing more with intuition and flowing more with like spiritual ability and being in the divine feminine energy, and this kind of unconscious belief that if I trust, I will be betrayed, that if I follow my spirit guidance, that I will be led to somewhere horrible. This sort of Joan of Arc kind of energy, this sort of Jesus kind of energy, right? That if I follow my spirit mission, oh my God, I'm going to be asked to do some awful things, and it's going to be difficult and painful and all of this, which is not a correct interpretation, because that's anchoring on the reality of the physical world. You know, all of those who have come before us to Weisho, and you might resonate with this in your own physical life. It's difficult and things are being taken away from you and that idea of sacrifice becomes quite real if you believe that the world is real. If you're still attached to things that you want to achieve outside of yourself because you are operating under a definition of your identity that gives you meaning, that you achieve from outside of yourself, or that to not achieve outside of yourself reflects poorly on you, it reflects your unworthiness, or that there's things that you still want in the physical world that's keeping you very attached to it, that you think you would suffer if you didn't have. That all sounds very harsh, but that is the work of waking up to the truth that the world is a projection of your beliefs. But it does these underlying like false beliefs in following spirit guidance. And the member video was a lot of undoing like false stories about feminine power that really keep us from aligning with our intuition and letting ourselves be spirit led. But this YouTube video that you're watching right now is really focusing on that punishment imprint, that like anticipating it's coming out that this anticipation of being in service is going to lead to something horrible, but it's also this punishment imprint of not like following very strict guidelines of society, doing something wrong, um, you know, not being rewarded for certain things you think you've done in exchange for something you're not getting. There's a lot around this kind of false idea of exchange and unworthiness that's around this also. Um, so if that's all resonant to you, we're going to move into doing a little bit of work to unravel this from the code of the field, and certainly from the templates, the blueprints that we allow to run in the background, that then we allow to project our future. Again, we want to get in, resting in the center of the being right now, resting in the presence of the eternal divine right now, and allowing that as we give it up, as we give our attachment to its meaning up, as we give that to spirit, we let it be undone from us. We take responsibility for having made it, and then for the effects that it has in the world around us, and then we choose no longer to operate under that false reality. We choose to allow truth to replace all of the incorrect ideas that we have in our minds, because we are consecrating our spirit to God at this time now together here, and we allow perception to be led by spirit in this now. Kaya tayo sumusokonin triatos, certainly forgiveness, calling in spirits of compassion, of true humility, which is to accept ourselves as one, as eternal, in our truth, in the truth of our reality, as beings of God. Si traorro kinandro amnatri kitis yoshorruindo yoptorruto yonorro itisikia. Shini kain satro amnatro hoko ashotokoni kayas datro atos. Shindria porro conundroat indishi kinindriatis. Citro atos orro kinindro aptorro kniandatas akodishi disi kiriat. Inianatusum socorro konoin. Hinitavo sokonindaraiti kiniam natri, histosham sa kinandrayos, horoti kanayen sotroi, inindayo sokoripai shinindriatisi. And so this will sort of invariably be a inner child healing as well, because what's really coming up right now is like these sort of trauma memories of like being like really horribly punished as a child is sort of what's coming up now. Kinatotiam no datoyontos. It will be parental healing as well, throughout time and space, throughout all of the archetypal ideas that we have about that. It'll be planetary, it'll be mythological, it'll be deity, it'll be all of this coming out to be cleared, all of these conceptions we have. Certainly as like empire as father also, so punishment from the state, punishment from the crown, punishment from all of these sort of different expansions of this idea of what has authority over you. The authority problem is something we're really exposing. Aligning with true spiritual authority and really letting God show you what that means in your sovereignty, and not having it be connected at all because it has no bearing, it has no reflection from reality, in like the false authority of like the patriarchy. But it's not just the patriarchy, because there's false authority in sort of wicked feminine projections also, that it's not, we cannot just blame one side. It's not about blame at all, but we have to bring up the distortions on both ends of the poles so we could see how to really neutralize it all together. Kaya torro kanayin sinayan totoya tisotoya shamaorro konait, hinindia sungora borro hinindri hini sansatri kiasto sonzo konoin shikiya yatikia, shininayin sitri koyo torro kiniandayeti sinsi koyo shandraya sinsiki. Sinion torro hiripaorro tindiri kayas tatrayas, shan sikinindayas nondro amnatra koyo toko, yoti sonzo hinini niyomorro iniata, sianain shikiatayaso to amash, sanzayas natuam sakinin tiasoyo shokorro hinindrihi, sini kayanjiti singayato koni kayato konoa, ini anaoro, ini androa woshongoro inim nindriasto sosai shikitis tatayas. Sabua ruino yono kona yani no to samsataya shitisi kitisi saya shayataya hinayan sikianaya ra yoro iniana ini hiniamayani ansotosap yato sopushoao sokoini tiamao so ininium sonentruatas ikayas otoat. It's really fun. What's coming through now is all of these ideas of always clearing in the face always represents identity reconstruction to me. So you might be feeling that also. I don't really try to make this glamorous. Like, my face is really itchy. I'm not going to hide the way that this comes through my body because I'm like a very physical conduit. But what's coming through is this sort of cymatics, the etakonit, the sound construction of geometry. Because these technologies still seem very foreign to us, even as we experience them in our field. And so Spirit is trying to sort of give context for somebody who's listening, for what the sound, different layers of meaning in sound construction that represent and reorchestrate template, blueprint, patterning of what we perceive to be story and like narrative time. Sitoawo Cynthia, and it moves in all directions. Kitia tokoro kondoyo tokoro kiniti sanshin sitiotos. Shiti singayatoro kininium noro kinianatri tiasayat. Koyo oruinimnia nosum sotoas, shitro oro konindi sinsatro koro koini dias toto yo no diana, yamayo koninaya no yo toatis. And this is just coming through now. Because like what we talk about as coming out to clear is like pretty heavy stuff, right? But there is a component of mastery when we do this work that is to neutralize what we are witnessing. If it's a layer of the dream, right? If it's coding in an imaginary projection, then it is meaningless. And so there's no need to be afraid of it. There's no need to cling on to it as an identity of yourself in pain. It is to just let it go from you as if it never was. That is my understanding of what forgiveness is. And so we can talk about these things which seem very overwhelming and which in our ego mind have caused lots of pain and have been pain and have then perpetuated pain. But if we are looking, and if we want to be masters that look at the world in trust, that look from the eyes of truth, then we must see that it is not truth, and so it has no bearing on our reality, and so it is no cause. It is no cause. It is in no way affecting your truth, and so there's nothing to be afraid of. You're not in danger. It cannot distort you. These are all ideas that you've had, and so this work is really like unity vision, like Christ healing mastery work. And so if that's what you want, you have to give up, this returning to this idea of sacrifice, right? Well, it'll feel like a sacrifice if you're clinging to the meaning of yourself in dreams, but it's not going to feel like sacrifice if you are seeing from the eyes of your truth, and you recognize that that version of yourself is not a real thing. It's an idea. It's an idea based on a lie. And so you say, oh, of course I don't. What am I going to do with that? And we cannot cling to false identities. And really be free. And really flow with creation and really know ourselves happy. Because that all comes from enlightened, like, manifestation of spirit. And we talk about this kind of thing so often because it is the truth that we allow into our mind that does the correction. And what form that takes and how it gets done is not dependent on our understanding or our direction of it. Let yourself be awakened. Let yourself be changed. At the very, very basic levels, bring up the template of punishment. Bring up the template idea, that definition of sin. Bring up in your awareness how all of that is connected to all of the different definitions of your identity that you hold of yourself and what it means to be human and what God is. Because that's the false idea also. If you have punishment mixed up in there with God and vengeance and sin and condemnation, that's a false idea of what God is. It's a false idea of what you are. Let the truth be revealed. Let the truth be revealed. You don't have to work hard for that. It will be as difficult as it is for you to give up false ideas. But also important to remember that the projection of our illusions here feel real to us. The effects of our illusions here feel just as real to us as the representations of truth. I said this yesterday. So it does take effort in your mind to choose to allow truth through. But once you do that, then there's ease. And the more you practice, the more that ease just sort of naturally comes. But don't underestimate, in the world of dreams, the power that we've given dreams and their effects. Like, we've given it that power. And so we have to ungive it. So ungive the power of the definition of punishment that you hold in your system. Refuse its power over you. Claim your power of your sovereign beingness and allow that to replace the function of punishment in your conception of how life works, or sin, or guilt, or condemnation, or retribution, or vengeance, or imprisonment. Any of these ideas around punishment. Let the sovereignty of your being and what that truth is replace those areas where you have these false ideas. We're like taking the old file out. What it really is just taking the old file out. The light of the truth is the basis of everything. But if it's helpful to you, when we think about space, which doesn't really exist, this is all like a projection of mind, but we think representationally in terms of time and space and area. So if it's helpful to you to think about taking the old program out and replacing it with truth, it's really just taking the old program out, and then truth is, because truth is the only thing. But it is filling that space. It's rushing in from the everywhere to fill that space that you were occupying with a false idea. So that's what I mean by it's not work for you to replace it, because it's already there. What you have to do is take it out. You have to unplug its power from you by rewriting the definition in your unconscious and subconscious minds. And that's what the code is for. Kini tayato korro konuinsa kinain sio porro konuinsa tishi kia te anatu yo konuinsi tayo torro kinsa paya shakiria. Sio socorro indiam no samsatro kia tokorro konuinso to I kuyono arai sion sokonayan shanain kini koyo torro konaso troen siata I kaya satari kini ninianatrum yono tayati kaya torro yan sotroate sakayas Sotroro kinindi samsatos, sio korro konindri kiniantayat, yato kanan, yato koas, yopoarat, yato konoana ini, kayanatro toyo no toya manati songo tishi, sion soro harri, tisio yosum satri, sio shara, sio soro iniam natroya sikia, shorro toyon disikia nisandratos. And like when I said in the beginning that bringing up this work might be uncomfortable, Sion sonroin dio somshakin indrikian sorro kuninsa kaya sotro aiki tokonoyan satratus, because the ego feels threatened by the truth. And the entire function of the ego, the entire function of what we've made in the dream, is to cover up the truth. So when you are very consciously insisting upon the truth as your being, what you've made to sort of deceive yourself about what you are appears to attack you. But it has no power. Just keep going. Keep affirming yourself as the Son of God. Keep affirming yourself in your true power of reality of love. You are a being of God, and there's nothing that can come against that power. There's dreams that we've made that's true, but it's just a dream. Remind yourself that you are the dreamer. Awaken into your reality of love. This is where peace lives. And letting like the tension go out of your shoulders. There's a big theme of like the upper spine, the upper back having a lot of tension, of maybe feeling like uncomfortable in your body a little bit, feeling like just like awkward. Like let yourself sort of move in, shake out. Always as you are interacting with this work, do as you feel called, because it will come out physically also, because it's changing the physical realm. So we're going to end it there. I hope that this was helpful to you. Would love to hear your guys' comments. And thank you so much to everyone who is subscribed and everyone who likes and shares. It really means so much to me. If you are interested in this work, you can become a member of the channel. It really helps me out. And there's weekly longer form healings without any ads. One-on-ones are open several days a week. That schedule's on my website. Lots of ways to go deeper into the work. The next group session is focused on clearing false abundance imprints, clearing separation from abundance as it needing to be achieved outside of yourself. It's going to be a really, really strong divine union healing as well, clearing tons of blueprints from time space, clearing tons of genetic record around money and the false field and all of that, all of these ideas of constriction and limitation and resistance and just like really, really deep. It's going to be a deep, deep original wound healing. And it's coming under the guise of a money healing, but everything stems from this original wound. So that's on December 2nd, 6:30 p.m. I'm pretty sure Mountain Time, and the link for that is below. And you can sign up for my newsletter and be informed about all of the trance healings I put out every week and just all the stuff that's going on. It's a very active time in the work, and I would love to meet more of you guys and see you guys there. So thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.